Francine was just outlining some of the announcements that you and the government have made this morning. Top of mind for me really is what you've announced around hardware and supporting UK semiconductors. What are the details? What money are you putting into play? What are the potential opportunities?
Tom, it's an incredibly exciting start to London Tech. We have announced a major hardware plan. And the crux of it, we are going to reindustrialize Britain to make sure that Britain's got a place in the AI chips world. So in particular, the Prime Minister has announced just now 400 million for the British state to buy top-tier chips made by British companies. That's going to be really critical. Alongside that, we're expanding the Scaling Inference Lab, a facility that validates chip quality quickly so that British startups are first in the queue when they're coming to sell as well. And so real money, but also real capability.
That is a big ambition, the reindustrialization of the UK. And you will hold to that commitment. You'll be tested on that in the years ahead. And you're confident that that's going to happen?
I am very confident of it. And not only because it's a promise for the future, but because it's grounded in our heritage and our past. The fact that a Labour government under Callaghan backed Inmos, spawned the semiconductor cluster in Wales, and led to the creation of companies like ARM, Graphcore, the entire cluster in Bristol, Isambard AI. This is in our past, it's in our heritage, it's going to be in our future.
We have to, on semiconductors, we have to pick our spots, don't we, Minister? We're not going to be producing an NVIDIA or an AMD in terms of GPUs that dominate the training and inference of some of these large language models. Where can the UK play? Where can the UK have an advantage and create material growth and scale in semiconductors?
Tom, you're totally right, which is over the last 15 years, this country fell behind in terms of reviving its heritage and chips for the future. What we are doing is saying, of course, today we have to partner with NVIDIA and AMD. They're great partners for us. We're announcing a series of things with them today. The bets we're placing are for the future. And for the future, we're placing two types of bets. One, we think inference is going to be critical. Companies like Fractal are going to have a great future. We want to be right behind them as well. But two, we also think we want to place some big bets for the longer term. Things like photonics, which are the next generation of bets that you make, which if they take off, will mean that Britain is right at the frontier as well. They're great companies, great academic strengths in those areas as well. Companies like Olix, for example, we're placing both of those bets.
The 400 million commitment doesn't sound like a significant number when you're thinking about an NVIDIA with a market cap of north of 4 trillion, just for one single company. What do you hope that 400 million does? Do you hope that private capital gets led onto that? What are your conversations with private capital, with long-term growth funds that could help accelerate that shift?
Well, Tom, that's the first crumb we're laying at the start of the trail in London Tech Week.
It's a crumb.
And so there's a lot more to come in the hours ahead.
There are more crumbs to come?
On hardware in particular, and so you should watch out for that. But look, there are two core principles. One, Britain's got absolute frontier ambition when it comes to chips. We understand the scale of the requirement there. But the second thing to say is we want public value for money. The conversations I've had with private investors, almost $500 million raised by Fractal and Olix in just the last few months. So there's a lot of money pouring into this in British chips. We want the British public sector to play its role appropriately, but in a proportionate way to make sure we're reaching the frontier.
How can we win if we don't have the infrastructure or the energy?
Well, we can't, and that's why we're building them.
Our energy costs are 3 times that of the US. How do we solve the energy piece that will power the data centers and the infrastructure?
By being very, very focused on the deals that we need to land, rather than the kind of big picture concern that people bring up on this question.
But we have to bring down energy costs.
Of course, that's the case.
North Sea oil could play a role?
Well, I actually think if you speak to anyone trying to build a data center over the next 12 months, the idea that the North Sea oil turning on might do something or not in a few years' time is frankly not here and all that. The big picture thing is we are making reforms that accelerate data centers. AI growth into this country get first dibs on the queue. They get savings shared back if they build in the northeast and Cumbria and areas of excess generation. There's plenty of demand in this country, and the crux of it is getting people onto the grid quickly, rather than thinking about the long-term political debate on North Sea or not. And so from my point of view, the deal is roll up our sleeves, get these deals done today so that Britain can secure its future.
Talking of politics, when I speak to people in this ecosystem, they do interface with you, they interact with you, and broadly, people are very positive about what you and the team have been doing to try to help this ecosystem. But the question is, will you be in place in 3 months or 6 months, given the political volatility here in the UK? I mean, the political instability is a challenge, isn't it? How much of a headwind is that?
Well, the big picture, Tom, is that I think over the last 18 months in this government, we have had a very clear execution. We have delivered 75% of the AI plan that we set out. We're going to get to 100% and get it over the line. And from my point of view, every day I'm in this job, I'm rolling up my sleeves with the team, getting as much done as I can.
Andy Burnham says he would take a tougher role or a tougher look at regulation around AI. Should we be regulating more?
I think the crux of it from an AI point of view is how do we build trust and keep our people safe. This morning, his Prime Minister has announced a major plan on device-level support to make sure that children are protected from child abuse. We have acted to make sure that when Grok was nudifying women and children's images, we acted fast. We were one of the first countries to get that overturned. And so again and again, we're focused on outcomes. The mechanism of delivery, people can debate in the context of elections. What I'm focused on is delivering outcomes to the British public.
An EU approach to regulation would be the wrong prescription for the UK around AI.
Well, look, I think one of the things I've most valued is the British public's appetite for pragmatism. And I think that is the defining philosophy for this government. We want the best security, trust for the British public when it comes to AI. We will pursue the mechanisms that make that deliver, rather than looking at obsessively the mechanism for how we get there.
How much disruption in the jobs market should we be bracing for at this point?
Well, look, here and now, I think we're running ahead of our skis a little bit on the jobs concern. Frankly, the biggest thing is how many jobs can we create here and now, and how can we support young people in every part of the country. Long term, I think there is a big question to be asked, because AI is transformational, and I think the speed and scale of this will be very, very significant. The task for us is how do we get on that bus and turn the steering wheel in the direction of British values and support for the
What specifically does that mean? What policies are you putting in place around jobs and the labour market?
Well, a really critical thing the Prime Minister's announced this morning is a new tool to bring frontier technology to the dignity of people in every part of this country. So we will now match millions of people every quarter in this country who look for new jobs. They will be better supported into the best paid jobs by using AI. Young people outside of education or at risk of dropping out before GCSEs, they will be supported because the frontier of technology under this Labour government will be put to the dignity of Labour in every part of this country.
Minister, you were a former venture capitalist yourself. Concerns again about an AI bubble and AI bubble bursting. We're seeing that in the public markets today with a significant sell-off. Is this a bubble? And is there a risk that it could burst? Is it looking frothy to you, Minister?
Well, the caveat is this. A bubble is a dispersion of price relative to value. What I'm focused on is delivering value for the British public, regardless of where the pricing is in terms of the equity markets. But look, the second thing is, of course, we're continuing to look at whether or not the equity context is one where there are financial concerns for the wider British public. We will continue to do that. From my point of view, it's a kind of constant chaser of the tail. Sometimes
do you think valuations are looking stretched? $1 trillion for OpenAI, $1 trillion for Anthropic?
I change my mind on this like the markets do on a pretty 24-hourly basis. I think the crux of it is the new normal is volatility. Whether the price is the right level or not, I think is an open question. We're all trying to figure that out. The volatility of it, I think, is an enduring feature. And so we want to make sure that Britain and the British public in particular rise that volatility in a stable way from a public point of view.